Thank you, Chairman Nels and Ranking Member Payne, for holding today's hearing on improving Amtrak operations across the country. The bipartisan infrastructure law was a monumental achievement that supercharged our nation's investment in rail with $100 billion in funding. The BIL provided bold long-term investments across transportation systems and infrastructure that are creating jobs and benefiting our economy. Just last week, the Bureau of Labor Stats reported the economy added 339,000 jobs in May, including 25,000 construction jobs and 24,000 transportation and warehousing jobs, a sign that the economy is on the move. For intercity passenger rail specifically, the BIL guaranteed multi-year funding for state of good repair investments and development. It makes possible for the first time ever dedicated, reliable federal funding dispersed over the next few years to improve and expand intercity passenger rail. And just this week, the first round of competitive rail grant funding from BIL was announced, and among the recipients was the city of Burlington, Washington, in the great state of Washington, in the Fighting Second District, which is awarded a $2 million planning grant to remove a grade crossing, which will in turn increase mobility for all rail traffic. Burlington Mayor Steve Sexton brought this idea to me nearly a decade ago, and I'm pleased to see this project awarded the funding it needs to improve safety and reduce congestion. Projects like this are improving the quality of life and creating jobs, and Washington State has led the way in executing BIL funding so far. And I expect great results for our communities that will come from this grant and the additional rail funding to come as well. Amtrak and the FRA can now enact long-term plans for passenger rail expansion and improvement, secure in the knowledge that funding will be there in future years. The bipartisan budget agreement protected BIL funding from cuts, including this vital rail funding, and demonstrated support on both sides of the aisle to maintain these investments. I look forward to hearing from both of our witnesses today about the difference this budget certainty has made for them in developing and sustaining programs and how this will ultimately improve service for rail passengers. I want to apologize for Mr. Warren for missing our meeting yesterday. It was an airplane issue and not a rail issue that prevented me from getting here on time. However, this funding is not only intended to improve rail service, but to expand it. The demand for more frequent, more reliable passenger service is real. Cities and counties across the nation want increased access to the national passenger rail network. They know this will help their towns grow and thrive and provide a greener way to move people. The communities that have rail service want better service. The communities that do not have service want service to start. Communities in my district were frustrated that the COVID pandemic shuttered state-supported Amtrak routes like the Amtrak Cascades, which connects communities like Everett, Edmonds, Stanwood, Mount Vernon, and Bellingham in my district to cities like Seattle, Spokane, Portland, Eugene, and Vancouver, British Columbia. I celebrate the return of this service and note, though, that it took 3 years to restore. Mr. Payne referred to the Gulf Coast, where it took 17 years to get an agreement there to restart service after Hurricane Katrina. To my colleagues on this committee representing Gulf communities, I share the frustration you and your constituents have undoubtedly experienced. As we did in fighting for rail funding in the BIL, this committee is committed to helping communities get regular and reliable passenger rail service. Now, of the $100 billion provided for rail in the BIL, $66 billion was provided in the form of advanced appropriations. The remaining $34 billion is subject to future appropriations. So I think we should continue to push for Congress to fully fund its intercity passenger rail commitments to create more jobs, grow regional economies, reduce congestion and carbon emissions, and build a cleaner, greener, safer, and more accessible transportation network. The BIL is also an investment in the workforce. This funding will be used to grow a well-trained, diverse workforce to build, operate, and maintain a national intercity passenger rail network. The transformational investment in the BIL is a great start, but Congress needs to build on this by securing a reliable funding stream for intercity passenger rail. Highways, transit, airports, and harbors all have access to trust funds, enabling them to fund their long-term major capital projects without having to wait for annual appropriations process. It's past time to do this for rail, and this committee will have the opportunity today to hear from two witnesses who are on the front lines, turning these historic investments into tangible improvements to rail service that our communities can rely on. We'll also have the opportunity to specifically examine Amtrak's plans for service improvements and growth, and to hear from one of Amtrak's key partners, the Northeast Corridor Commission, on how BIL will improve passenger rail in that region. So I look forward to hearing from our witnesses about their vision for the future of passenger rail. And with that, yield back.
Mr. Larsen yields. I would like to